The wind that evening carried a hush across the plains, as if the earth itself were holding its breath. Dusk melted into violet shadows, and along the broken trail a young woman walked with her child swaddled close against her chest. Her eyes, dark and deep with exhaustion, lifted to the empty horizon as though begging it to answer her. "Where shall we go? We have no shelter," she whispered, though the only witness was the tiny heartbeat pressed against her own. The words rose and fell like a prayer cast into the wilderness, unheard by men, but perhaps not by fate. Nia Redbird's steps dragged. She was only 23, but grief had aged her bones and bent her shoulders. The memory of her husband's death burned behind her eyelids, a flash of shouting, the crack of rifles, the silence after. She had carried their newborn daughter through that silence ever since. Every town she approached turned her away, some with pity, more with contempt. Her people were scattered, mistrusted, and she had no kin nearby to offer safety. The child stirred, whimpered, and Nia hushed her with a soft hum, though her throat was dry as dust. That sound, fragile as it was, kept her moving forward. The trail bent and widened into a stretch of open land, and there upon a high bay horse sat a figure cut from the last light. He was tall even in the saddle, his broad shoulders cloaked in a weathered coat, his hat brim shadowing eyes that studied her with unsettling stillness. For a moment she thought she had conjured him, some spirit of the land summoned by her plea. But the horse stamped and blew steam, and reality sharpened, a man, flesh and blood, and a stranger. He did not speak right away. The wind tangled her long black hair across her face, and she brushed it aside to meet his gaze. His eyes were a gray she had never seen before, storm-colored, watchful, both wary and searching. Her knees trembled, half from weakness, half from the weight of his silence. He dismounted in a single fluid motion, the spurs at his boots whispering against the dry earth. He looked at her child, then at her. Still no words. Nia held her breath, waiting for rejection, for suspicion, for the hardness she had learned to expect. Instead, he reached to his saddlebag, drew out a canteen, and extended it toward her. The gesture startled her more than cruelty would have. Her lips parted but no sound came. She took it, lifted it carefully to her mouth, then touched it to her daughter's lip. The baby suckled weakly, and relief welled through Nia's chest so powerfully she swayed. She whispered, "Thank you." The man's voice, when it came, was roughened by years and solitude. "You've far to walk with a child that small." She nodded but said nothing more. Pride and fear tangled inside her. She was Apache. He was clearly of the settler's world. What shelter could exist between them? Yet she could not ignore the strange steadiness in his presence. She asked, though her voice trembled, "Do you turn us away, too?" His gaze lingered on the child's tiny hand curling in her blanket. Something shifted in his face, something soft that he tried to hide. "Name's Cole McGraw," he said after a pause. "My land is a day's ride west. If you'll take a horse, I'll see you there." The words hung in the air, unbelievable. Nia's heart thudded. Men did not give such offers without a price, she knew. But her daughter stirred, rooting for warmth, and desperation tugged harder than caution. She nodded once. Cole did not smile, only offered his hand to help her mount behind him. She hesitated, then placed her palm against his. Calloused, steady, unexpectedly gentle. The horse shifted under their weight, and with a nudge they rode into the deepening night. The ranch lay wide and lonely under the stars. Its fences stretched long, its barns sturdy, its house lit faintly by a single lantern. Cole dismounted and helped her down, saying little. He opened the door, motioned her inside, then set bread on the table, and laid a blanket over the chair nearest the fire. He did not ask her name, nor question her story. He gave her space, as though wary of breaking something fragile. Nia fed the child, then sat stiffly, watching him from the corner of her eye. He moved with the quiet efficiency of a man long accustomed to silence. 4 days, their words were few. He worked the land. She kept mostly indoors, wary of the townsfolk's judgment should they see her. Yet every evening she found small tokens of consideration, a folded shawl, an extra portion of stew, a fire stoked before he left the room. And every evening she fought the question in her heart, what did these gestures mean? She had been taught that trust was a dangerous thing. Still, little Star's laughter one afternoon broke something open. The child giggled at the way sunlight danced on a tin cup, and Cole, passing through, froze at the sound. His face changed, as though remembering music long forgotten. He did not laugh, but his eyes lingered, softer than before. Whispers from town reached them soon enough. Sheriff Amos Pike rode up, his jaw tight, his words sharper than his badge. Cole, a man of your standing shouldn't be housing an Apache widow. Folks will talk. Cole's answer was a cold silence, his gray eyes unyielding. Later that night, Nia overheard Clara Whitfield, a neighboring widow, warn her. Men don't give shelter without wanting something back. Be careful, girl. Shame burned Nia's cheeks. She thought of leaving, but her daughter's tiny hand caught her dress, holding her fast as though reminding her that survival was not pride's enemy. The breaking came during a town gathering. Nia had followed Cole into the square, and the stares pierced her like arrows. Words were spat, outsider, burden, heathen. She lowered her eyes, clutching her child close, her throat tight with humiliation. Cole said nothing then, but later, as moonlight pooled across the floorboards, she found a folded shawl at her bedside. It was soft, delicate, smelling faintly of lavender. His late wife's, she guessed. The gift both pierced and soothed her heart. To be given such a piece was not cruelty, it was release. He was letting go of his ghosts by laying them in her care. Tears blurred her vision as she pressed the fabric to her face. The storm struck weeks later, not snow but a wild tempest of rain and dust that rattled the ranch walls and howled like a wounded beast. Lightning split the horizon, thunder shaking the earth. Nia held little Star close, heart pounding. The door burst open, and Cole staggered in, soaked through, determination etched into his face. He crossed the room with a kind of desperation she had never seen in him before. "Stay," he said, voice fierce over the roar of the wind. "You are not alone." The words broke something within her, not in pain, but in release. She saw then not a wealthy rancher, not a figure of suspicion, but a man stripped of pride, offering his heart without ornament. He reached for her hand, not to command, not to claim, but to steady. She gave it freely. And in that moment, the storm outside seemed a mirror of the storm within them, and both found their shelter in each other's gaze. Time carried them forward. The whispers did not stop, but they no longer mattered. In the quiet of spring, under a sky wide and unbroken, Cole asked her with no audience but the wind and the child, would she walk beside him, not as guest but as wife? He did not kneel, nor did he dress the moment in grandeur. He simply placed a ring, worn but strong, into her hand. Her answer was the softest of words, but her eyes shone like the first dawn after long night. Years later, the ranch no longer echoed with emptiness. Little Star's laughter filled the air as she ran through tall grass, her dark hair flying like a banner of resilience. Nia stood at the porch, the shawl draped across her shoulders, and Cole watched from beside her. Their lives were not without scars, but they were stitched together by small mercies that had grown into an unshakable devotion. And if you walk that land now, when the sun is low and the wind carries its secrets, you may hear a faint whisper among the grasses, that shelter is not timber or stone, nor wealth nor reputation, but the courage of two souls who refuse to let each other walk alone. Listen closely, and you might hear them still, the mother who pleaded with the earth and the man who answered with his silence, until silence turned into love.